What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to continue our coverage over Batman Knightquest. And really, we're at the point where we're going to wrap up our coverage over Batman Knightquest. Now, before we are able to dive into Night's End, we have to cover the search. Now, in my last video, I kind of explained what the search is all about. You see, when it came to the Nightfall trilogy, you had Nightfall, Knightquest, and Night's End. Now, with all that being said, between Knightquest and Night's End, you had this interlude called Knightquest The Search, where you had Bruce Wayne out there trying his best to find Jack Drake, but to also begin the process of bringing Bruce Wayne back into Gotham to possibly retake the role of Batman. Now, with all that being said, when it comes to the end of Knightquest, we're really going to see that John Paul Valley has gone too far when it comes to him being Batman, to the point where now you're going to have Jim Gordon turn his back with the idea of helping out Batman protecting Gotham City. And you'll see what I mean as we go through today's video. But by this point in our coverage over Knightquest, we can tell that maybe it's time for John Paul Valley to retire and bring back Batman, who can at least follow the rules when it comes to being a hero in the world of DC Comics. And the reason why I'm saying all this because in our last few videos over Knightquest, we have seen John Paul Valley go up against different characters that Batman have fought over the years. And he has been able to take every single one of them out without the possibility of killing them. But in our last video, we saw John Paul Valley unfortunately killed off a character known as Abattoir. Now, technically, when it came to Abattoir, John Paul Valley could have saved his life, but John Paul Valley was fighting against the system that was inside his mind. Now, we had talked about the system before. You see, when it comes to John Paul Valley, before he was supposed to be the next Batman, he was supposed to be the next Azrael. Let me explain. You see, there is this order, better known as the Order of St. Dumas. Now, for this group of people, they always had this avenging angel, just in case people try to cross the order in some kind of way. And with that being said, it was sent out their avenging angel to handle those different kinds of people. And of course, their avenging angel was Azrael. Now for John Paul Valley, before him, his father was the Azrael in the current time of DC Comics. But his dad died on duty. And so after dying, his dad made sure that John Paul Valley would be ready to take up the mantle by placing in his mind something called the system. Now, the system is basically this mental implant where it has John Paul Valley's mind and body to be ready to become the next Azrael, but to also know everything about the Order of St. Dumas, but to also make sure that his son knows how to fight. And so when it came to John Paul Valley, he was fighting against the system. When it came to Abattoir, hanging for his life, who had unfortunately fell to his death. And so right now, with the idea of Abattoir dying in the earlier parts of Knightquest, you now have Jim Gordon kind of wondering, can he allow this Batman still out there in Gotham City? Can he allow this Batman to work in Gotham City? Now, we do get a page that is technically dedicated over to a group called the Rats. And the Rats is a small gang in Gotham City. And their goal right now is try to begin to build some kind of empire in Gotham City to make a lot of money. They're actually thinking about doing a protection ring in Gotham City, in a rich area of Gotham. And so they do play a small role in today's video, but we're going to see them again at the end of the first chapter of today's video. But shifting our focus back over to John Paul Valley Batman, with the death of Abattoir, is kind of showing John Paul Valley that maybe it's okay to sometimes cross that line when it comes to protecting Gotham City. So just in case he has to fight against the Joker, and it gets to the point where he has to kill off the Joker, he'll be okay with the idea of killing off the Joker, because in his mind right now, it is perfectly okay to cross that line. But here comes the problem though. You see, with the death of Abattoir, they cannot find his hostage. Now, when it came to Abattoir, he was this character who would man, he would go after different members of his family and try to kill them off because he believed that his entire family was truly evil. And so in our last video, we saw Abattoir being able to capture his cousin Graham and try to kill him off by using some kind of torturing machine. But here's the problem. With the death of Abattoir, the GCPD nor Batman knows where Abattoir had hid Graham at. And so Graham died at the end of our last video because no one was able to find him in time to free him from the torturing machine. And so right now you have the GCPD trying their best to figure out where is Graham at and hoping to find him before he officially dies, even though we already know that he is dead. And really, it does not take the GCPD that long to figure out where Graham could possibly be yet. And so when they find the last building that was owned by Abattoir's family, when they walk inside that warehouse, they find the dead body of Graham. And of course, they have to report this back over to Jim Gordon. Now, once he gets word, he is officially done because he blames Batman for the death of Graham because he hears that Graham was inside some kind of torturing device. And so for Jim Gordon, it's more of like, if Batman did not kill off Abattoir, we could have most likely found Graham in time and saved his life. But because Batman had killed off Abattoir, we were not able to find Graham in time, and now he's officially dead. And so now it's Jim saying, I need to have a meeting with the Batman. Now, the meeting between Batman and Jim Gordon does not go as well as you would think it would. Like, actually, you would think it would go bad because for Jim Gordon, he now knows that this is not the same Batman that he had worked with in the past. He knows that this must be somebody else. But at the same time, he's also upset about the fact that this Batman has crossed the line. Now, for John Paul Valley, he said, listen, you have to realize if we had followed your system, your government system here, and try to use the justice system to lock away Abattoir, then most likely he will break out of prison again, come back to Gotham, kill off more people who stand in his way. And so for me, I had ended the cycle. With him being gone, other people may now live and survive and have a normal life. But for Jim Gordon, it's still the whole idea that they're not following the laws. They're not following the justice system. But for Batman, John Paul Valley, he does not care. And he just leaves. Say, hey, you know what? Do not call me back here unless it is an emergency. But you didn't have Jim Gordon go ahead and smash the bat signal to say Batman is no longer working with the GCPD no more. Now, the next few pages of this actual chapter of Knightquest is really more of us seeing Batman just being this brutal character because we now see him beating down on all those different gangs of the rats who are trying to build up a protection ring in Gotham City. And their ring idea, well, it falls apart very quickly thanks to Batman. But while he's fighting against all these different members of the gang, it kind of shows how aggressive he is. He is literally beating them down, breaking their bones, breaking their arms, legs, nose, whatever. He is breaking everything, being this bloody, brutal character. And really, you have Jim Gordon on the radio just listening in on what had happened when it came to Batman stopping that gang. Because now you have Jim Gordon hearing all these different calls of how badly Batman had beaten different members of the gang. Some of them broken legs, broken arms. Some of them are just sprains. Some of them might have brain injuries. Who knows? It's a long list of different things that they're all going through right now, thanks to Batman, who had brutally beaten them. And so now is Jim wondering what to do with this new Batman. The ending of the first chapter of today's video is really more of John Paul Valley getting back over to the Batcave and now beginning to work on new designs for his bat suit to use against the criminals of Gotham City. And so now we move our way into the final chapter of Batman Knightquest. Now, the final chapter does take place in Detective Comics issue number 675. Now, in the opening pages of this chapter alone, we do see that John Paul Valley had created some new kind of weapons in his gauntlets, where he's now able to shoot out projectiles towards his enemies. And that's going to be somewhat important for the final chapter of Knightquest. Now, the final chapter of Batman Knightquest is also trying to wrap up some loose ends. So, for example, the whole idea of Gun Hawk and Gun Bunny. You see, Gun Hawk and Gun Bunny were a couple of characters who were madly in love with one another, but they also had a love for guns as well. And the reason why I'm bringing that up because when we last saw them, they were trying to steal a new kind of weapon that was being shown off at some kind of gun convention. Now, Batman did arrive and try to do battle against them, but he did lose that battle. But when it came to Gun Bunny, she was shot on accident by an innocent person at that gun convention. And so with that happening, Gun Hawk grabbed her and just disappeared. And so we were kind of left to wonder what happened to her. Well, now we see that he is finally bringing her over to the hospital to get her some help because he was in hiding because he knew sooner or later the GCPD or Batman might find them. Now, with Gun Hawk being able to really take hold of an entire hospital under siege, you didn't have the GCPD arrive. Now, when they do arrive, they're not being led by Commissioner Gordon. Instead, they're being led by a character known as Kitch. Now, when it comes to Kitch, he is actually a lieutenant on the police force, but his main goal is to figure out how to resolve this situation here at the moment. But while you have all the different officers getting set up, one of the officers realized that there's movement on the top of the hospital building. And we already know who that is. It is Batman because John Paul Valley wants to bring Gun Hawk and Gun Bunny in for the crimes they had committed in the earlier parts of Knightquest. Now, really, the rest of the book is really more of just Batman fighting against, well, Gun Hawk. Well, you have the doctors trying their best to save the life of Gun Bunny. And so the last 12, 13 pages is just Batman trying his best to find the best way to bring down Gun Hawk, which really, by the end of the book, he was able to take down Gun Hawk. Now, Batman does disappear as you have the GCPD move inside the building where they find Gun Hawk on the ground. And we do learn that Gun Bunny did survive the surgery that the doctors were trying to give her. They were able to remove the bullet inside of her. But either way, at the end of this book, it's more of the police wondering is it a good thing to have Batman around or is it a bad thing to have Batman around? But either way, this is where we end the Knightquest storyline and begin our work on Knightquest The Search. But with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.